Hello and welcome to Not So Daft Minecraft, where we're taking a bit of a bird's eye view of something we've seen before, which is our little village of Daftsville, and it's about to get a lot bigger. We are going to convert that area over there into a villager village. I've never done one of these before. I have some TNT, but only 5 blocks, and that sucks. Gosh, I mean, it's gonna be a lot of digging. We'll start blowing up the landscape over there, flattening it out, and setting our village up. We're gonna build a church, some houses, just have some fun. Nothing too strenuous. I don't know exactly how to film this, so I think what I'm going to do is just check in at various points in the build and walk through where we're at, rather than try and film the whole thing. So we'll see you as we get going. All right, time for a check-in. As you can see, we were able to get the land flat. I built ourselves a nice curtain wall too, so there's an awful lot of stone being used. But thanks to a Silk Touch pickaxe, that's not so hard to come by. We're flat, and I've gotten busy doing some buildings. I decided to terrace rather than flatten the entire thing to one level when I thought to myself it'd be nice to have a lower section for farms. I don't know how villager farming dynamic works. I know they can farm for you, but I just want to set it up and see what they do. So we have a lower level for a farm. We have basically a guardhouse type barbican gate set up to basically look nice. And if you're building one of those, you might as well take the island that you crafted and get yourself a gatehouse and the footings for 4 really tall towers. They're gonna be taller than the main structure, which, if this was a real defensive position in the real world, would allow you to have 4 corners of fire on the main house should it get taken. And I'm laying out the footings for our church. We're going to do a cathedral. Vaguely blending Yorkshire Cathedral, and there'll be a little hint of maybe Notre Dame. See if we can work some buttresses in and just have some fun. Trying to keep it on the DL, keep it simple. So we have a lot of land to play with, so there's a lot of space for village houses, which we'll make ourselves a main street through here, and we'll pack the houses in. One thing we do not have yet is any doors. You know, villager breeding dynamic requires doors, so we'll see how that goes when we get around to that part. I think the church might be too big, to be honest with you, but go big or go home. I'm going to have inside the church, probably along the main drag where you might expect pews to be, I think we'll do a series of confessional doors, and that'll make the church a functional villager breeding space. Let's have a quick walk around of what we did. From here we have a pretty good view of the island. As I was cutting the land, that piece of property kind of sat by itself, and I envisioned basically what I'm doing now, but it just wasn't big enough, so we had to increase its footprint. Get around to that. Decided to have some fun with it, and I trenched out at an angle so that the lava that we have can flow. Here you can see the beginnings of the church. I built it backwards. The cross end should be facing the rising sun, but I didn't like that layout, and this is how I wanted to look at it, so I did it that way. Maybe the villagers have a different set of religious values. All right, there you have it. Daftsville. Coming into focus. Pretty soon we'll have to tackle the problem of how to get villagers up here. That is going to be a problem. I suspect I'll pop them to the surface with bubble lift, and we'll have to trick them onto a train and bring them up here. And yeah, that'll be another part of the adventure. I'll check in with you as we get closer to the church being completed, and we'll see where we are. Hello and welcome back to the village of Daftsville. We finished an awful lot of large buildings, the castle, the church, that kind of stuff. Haven't started building the physical villager houses yet, but I thought this was a good place to check in with you, touch bases, and maybe talk a little bit about why I've chosen to film it this way. So I've been working on the village, and I decided not to film the entire process. And the reason I decided not to film it is that there's an earlier video on the YouTube channel about how we built and flat-topped that piece of property there. And basically it's a lot of digging, collecting dirt, and using that dirt to square up the sidewalls. As you can see right down there, pretty square sidewalls. As I've needed more materials, I've squared off these sidewalls. So this over here could eventually be squared off for more dirt and more stone. It helps to have a silk touch pickaxe to get the stone. I've done a ton of mining. I've expanded my mine so that the hallways now run to the other side of our mining room. I may eventually kind of expand a little bit and bring a mine over here to the village, which the major buildings are built. I'm not going to build any villager houses. I'm going to get a couple of zombie villagers, secure them, and bring them here, and we're going to find out if they like what I've done. I looked very, very carefully into how to build a quote-unquote house. I say that because a house is nothing more than a door with a dirt block on one side representing the interior and a dirt block overhead representing the roof of the interior. It's as simple as that, but there are rules and so-called checks that the door does to determine which is inside, which is outside, which is roof, which is not. So I don't know. I'm going to show you all the doors I've put in. I don't really honestly know. I can't get a firm enough answer from my brain, which is primitive. But we are here. Those trees will eventually get gone. That's our cathedral in the background there. We'll take a tour of that. We got the sun setting nicely behind us, but next time you see me, it's going to be daylight so that we can take the tour properly. We have our keep over here with its towers and its main building. I'll discuss how we came to have the island keep. We've got our entrance towers there and our lower layer where we're going to do some farming. I'm going to see if I can get villagers to farm for me. And of course the original structure back there. So let's get down from here and have a wander through this future village. Okay, so behind us is the original house and garden. And over here is a sort of barbican gate. This is a learn as you go thing for me. I probably should have had the towers stick out a little bit more from the body of the structure itself, but you know, I've learned a few things. I'm going to make some changes. I've learned that using fence posts in the corners creates the illusion of what are called arrow loops, which is a place to shoot an arrow out of, and it also breaks up the monotony of the cobblestone. I did use some fences to create that little bit of frenellation up there at the top of the building, which is nice. It's a different little bit of a look. This down here, I'm hoping to have farmland down here. I don't know what you have to do to make villagers farm for you, so I'll figure it out. It's one of the most ambitious, frankly, builds I've ever done. It's been a ton of work. All right, so through the gates, I was using metal doors, but it turns out villagers will not interact with metal doors because they can't manually open them. But we do have a makeshift jail down here, a pair of them. We got our overhead gates. They don't function. It'll have a path here. Both towers have ladders. Take us up like this to have a quick look. A couple of little rooms like so. Little overlook. And on to the cathedral. It's a bit Protestant looking. Again, learn by doing. The first time I built them, it was entirely stone, and then I realized it was too monotonous. I broke it up with the carved stone and those little peekaboo windows just for a little bit of surface detail. Later, I added these windows. If you look at a lot of older Gothic cathedrals, they get very, very fancy when it comes to the towers. Sometimes the main body of the church is recessed, as I've done it. Other times they are proud, kind of hang out. There are arches built into the towers. It goes on and on and on. I'm happy with this because it's what I pictured when I decided to do this. The colors here don't mean too much, but the green, white, and gold there, that's the Irish flag. My wife is from Ireland. So I had a little fun and repeated that theme down the body of the church. So we got our pews, we got our altar up there. In the towers, we have access to the crypt. The support columns, which of course aren't actually necessary, but hey. I decided to put windows in down here just because, I don't know. I'm thinking of replacing them with bars because atmospherically it'll look a little better. But everything's up in the air at this point in time. The towers have been rebuilt a couple times, not only to add the carved stone, but this time to reset these stairs to allow for that window. I'm probably going to add some doors to these areas, try to get villagers to breathe here. The problem is, of course, they tend not to wander around and climb up and down stairs, so they may not recognize the door. My best door count is going to be to have lots of surface doors down at the main level. So we just have a basic view of the property, the roof. I was going to cover that with flower pots to create the illusion of the small frenellations or decorative elements that sit on top of Gothic churches. But the problem with that is I was getting spawning up there. So you look up and see a zombie wandering around on the roof. And I was like, all right, we'll get rid of that. We won't have that problem. There's our two towers. I played around with this for a long time before coming up with the diorite fence posts. Can't say I'm happy with it. But we don't have a ton of materials to work with. Little overlooks have that little slab there so you can't walk out. Up here are confessional booths, which I hope will cause the villagers to breathe. It has the requirements. You got a block back here. It's got more space in front of it than it has within it. That plus the overhead blockage equals a house. This is what I've been told. And the ceiling is high enough up to not cause it to interfere. I hope. Somebody in the comments can let me know. Some people call this kind of thing the Amen corner. I call it the Seahawks corner. Put a little bit of color fun there for that. This right here is just kind of the sun setting kind of a look. Little Yankee flag over there. I just had some fun with the colored glass. It's nothing significant. The altar is just carved stone fencing and magenta carpet. Lots of torches because I don't want to have random spawns. The other tower is a reverse copy of the one we just left. This little tram station here is temporary. We're going to build something better. I just don't know what. As I started carving out the land here, this island revealed itself. So I cleaned it out and isolated it, but it wasn't very big, and I did want to put this gatehouse type structure on it, and so I needed to make it bigger. Lots of lava to create a nice little flow. The lava solves a problem for me, which is I was getting spawning because, hold on, right around here is the actual end of the island. Everything from here on out is a extension, but it created a huge shadow, which I'll show you in a minute, and that was causing spawning problems. So by having the lava wrap around the island, which I'll show you in a minute, we eliminated a lot of the spawning problems. That left me with an interior cavity to fill, and even though I had a ton of dirt, as you can see, I did not have enough dirt. So we have a hollow interior, and this right here is the staggered extension that goes all the way over. And it overhangs like this. It's actually very difficult to see. We'll take a look at it from below. So we have slabs for replacing some of the courtyard, and we have these blocks holding up torches. And this eliminates spawning in the courtyard, which is nice. Now, I don't know if villagers are bothered by pressure plates. I know they like to open and close doors themselves, so I can't get an answer on the web. We'll have to find out. We have this kind of a wall walk that goes around the entire structure, and as you can see, it's just door after door after door. All of this is an attempt to encourage villager breeding. The towers all have the classic clockwise staircase. I used a fence post outside of each window so you cannot walk out, and it creates a little visual bump, which is nice. There's our fence posts forming our arrow loops. They don't actually function, but they look nice. And our roof, which has a frenellated overhang, but that makes it dangerous because as you get towards the edge, the fence won't stop you. But it does give you a nice view. I don't suspect anybody, including the villagers, will spend any time up here, so it really doesn't matter. This is all affectation, something I normally abhor, but I have never done a big build. I have always done practicality builds. I've always done mining offices and small protective houses. I decorate them, I make them look nice, but this sort of a project with this much land leveling and squaring off and fencing and all of that, I've never done. Let's take a look at the cathedral from the gatehouse structure. Let's head over there. Here we are outside the gatehouse structure. That's what I'm calling it. Pretty basic build. I think I would recommend, guys, go ahead and throw a random andesite block in there. Go ahead and throw in a random, maybe even diorite. You know, when they built these things, I've toured a bunch of these, and they used whatever rock they could get their hands on. See, I replaced the rail up there on that balcony with acacia fence posts because I needed it to jump out at you. I was using andesite, and it's one big blob of cobblestone, and it's okay, but I think if there was a random other form of stone in there, it might look, I don't know, a little more natural and a little less monotonous. Let's go inside. Built a glass bridge just for fun so we can see the lava. We got the gates in the open position. Of course, they don't actually close, but it looks the business, as they say. Small rooms on both sides. You saw that one. That's how we went down to the under space. This is the only iron door left, but that's to keep the baddies out. This is a nice little trick I've discovered by accident. That's a step, but it gives me this arrow loop that you can actually look through. Kind of feels the part for the sort of room it would be. This is because I get tired of going upstairs or up the ladder, but I got rid of the ladder and I gave myself this. Normally I build these in one shaft, but this time there are two shafts, one for falling down. Like all site foremen, I have some storage. Here's our overlook. It lets us down into these mid chambers where we have an overlook that shows us down to the entrance. This is where, in a real building like this, you would be able to shoot the enemy while staying safe. Up to the roof, and we can see the lay of the land. The four towers are roughly identical. They have some variance caused by basically the fact of where the stairs laid out and where these overlooks laid out. It was hard for me to get that perfectly balanced. Again, completely survival mode, no ability to fly and plant blocks. Everything was done by building structures to measure things out and figure out where we were, but that is that. Let's go take a look at the underside of this structure a little bit and talk about some of the wall elements. I've got the path made of slab so that it can be underlit, which is kind of a nice effect at night. I've never done that. I've done slab lighting in the past, of course, for interior effects, but never on the exterior. I don't know why. It's pretty cool. So there's the overhang. I purposely made it a little crooked, irregular. I didn't want a perfect upside down pyramid, so I kind of randomly tossed out as I went various stones, etc. Gives it the look of something that was there and taken advantage of. We've got the lava not only flowing from our river structure back there down this direction. So not only does it come down from the rivers over there, but it pours out of those openings up there, which you saw inside the structure, and makes its way down along these pathways and joins up with its partner on the other side, which comes down from up there. So you can see the structure in the island. You can see why the island had to be made wider. It wasn't very big to begin with. Lots and lots of dirt. We're going to build a entrance over here somewhere by the church so that I don't have to go around in a big circle all the time. But we'll do that at a later date. You can see that we're not entirely finished dressing that wall there, but that's part of this future build. I'm going to get rid of all this dirt, flatten this thing out, and slowly but surely we are getting to the dream of a perfectly squared up structure. But as I've said before, I like the organic look. All right, so there we are. Next step, get a couple of villagers up here. Shouldn't be too hard. trapdoor, drops them, you cure them, trapdoor drops them into a rail car and off they go. Easier said than done, I'm sure, but we'll give it a try. We'll see how they react to the environment. We'll see if they're capable of breeding. And then if that turns out to be true, we'll get busy building houses. I have a ton of wood. I'm tempted to build houses out of wood, but I don't want lightning strikes to cause fire, so I think I'm just going to go with stone. And yeah, we'll have a little bit of fun. We'll build a blacksmith. We'll build a kind of a farmhouse. All right, thank you for watching Not So Daft Minecraft. I have been Gosip. You have been great.